A former WWE World Champion is expected to sign for AEW, but first, a former AEW Champion is likely heading to WWE. Today looks to be the start of a whole bunch of upcoming free agency news and potential jumps from one promotion to the other, our personal favourite kind of stories here on WrestlePlanet. We have one AEW exit to discuss as well as 4 WWE departures on today's menu. So let's get into it then, starting with a fresh report from Fightful Select that dropped last night following the live taping for AEW Dynamite as well as Rampage, which will air this Friday night. It was previously announced that Jade Cargill will attempt to win back the AEW TBS Championship on Rampage, a belt that she held for more than 500 days in the past, this before Chris Statlander ended her undefeated streak at Double or Nothing in May. Whilst we won't spoil the exact result, it seems that last night's pre-taped bout will be Cargill's last for the foreseeable future, with Fightful reporting that she appears to be WWE bound. They would add that Jade is now finishing up with AEW and last night's appearance in Cincinnati is likely her final one under her current deal, and they would add, Fightful has spoken to sources within both AEW and WWE that believe she is heading to WWE. We should specify that we haven't heard of an official offer being made, and as is always the case, things can change in the world of pro wrestling, including a situation like this. Whilst it's unclear how long is left on Jade's contract, there is said to be option years on the table that the company could pick up. However, the rumour within both companies is that she's expected in WWE in the near future. And next, a popular WWE superstar is now without a contract. Continuing the free agency theme of today's video, let's go to a new report from BWE, aka Boozer Wrestling, who have provided an update on the absent Elias, who hasn't been seen since the WWE Intercontinental Title #1 Contendership Battle Royal on May 15, 2023. According to the story, Elias is currently without a professional contract, which implies that he's no longer signed to WWE. The news comes off the back of Elias recently resurfacing on Instagram, where he would post a photograph taken in Israel, with him revealing that he's been baptized in the same spot that John the Baptist is said to have baptized Jesus Christ. With that said, the report concerning his contract status was fairly vague, and it didn't include any news on his potential future inside the squared circle, as we wait to find out if there will be a second coming of the Drifter. Next up, 2 former champions have officially left WWE. In April 2023, NXT duo Rip Fowler and Jagger Reed of the Schism faction would reveal that they had requested their release from WWE, a request that was denied by the company. Whilst their wish wouldn't be granted, they did note that their deals were set to expire later in the year, something that has reportedly now happened. According to Dave Meltzer on last night's Wrestling Observer Live, the Dyad now officially find themselves on the free agency market, and Dave would say, their contract is up and I thought there was going to be some kind of angle or something, but it's just they're gone. Reed and Fowler would last wrestle on NXT 2 weeks ago when they were on the losing side of a tag match against Brutus and Julius Creed, with them now expected to revert back to their independent wrestling names of James Drake and Zach Gibson, and their joint tag team name of Grizzled Young Veterans. Where they will play their trade next, however, remains a mystery. And stay tuned for even more free agency news coming up later in the video, but for now let's go to some other stories from the wrestling world. And next, the true attendance for AEW All in London has been revealed. During All Elite Wrestling's historic pay-per-view inside Wembley Stadium, the company would announce a paid attendance of 81,035 fans, a number that would position the event as the world record in that regard. Well, according to a fresh report from Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics, the local government have told them a very different number from the one announced on the night. Brandon would contact the Freedom of Information Office for the Brett Civic Centre, which is the local council for the Wembley area, with them noting that the turnstile count for AEW All In was 72,265, 8,770 less than the official number, and the letter from the council reads, the actual numbers registered entering Wembley Stadium through the turnstiles was 72,265. This is reflective of what attended on the night and not the total number of tickets sold or no-shows, etc. Whilst it's unclear exactly why the number is so much lower, it's speculated that the number released by AEW themselves is the amount of tickets sold and not how many paid and then entered the stadium. WrestleNomics would add that a typical AEW event has a drop count or turnstile count that is about 80 to 90% of the paid attendance or tickets distributed, meaning this seems to explain the disparity. Hilariously, IWGP United States champion Will Ospreay would take to Instagram to post a now deleted video about the news. This after he recently tattooed himself in honor of his involvement with AEW All in London, a tattoo that includes the original number posted by AEW, and he would joke,
"Bruv, you cannot make this shit up. I am currently in Japan. I've had no sleep. I am tired. And I wake up. This is the worst day of my life." Do you know how hard it was for me to get a tattoo? My mum hates them, bruv. They announced it to everyone. They announced it as 81,000 people. I've got this thing on my arm.
Next up, the latest PWI 500 has been revealed. Ever since the year 1991, the Pro Wrestling Illustrated magazine has released their top 500 male wrestlers for each year, with the likes of Hulk Hogan, Sting, Steve Austin, and Kenny Omega topping the charts throughout that time. Today, PWI would release their latest list that covers the best performers from July 1st, 2022 up until July 31st, 2023, using win-loss records, technical ability, influence on the sport, success against the highest grade of competition, success against the most diverse competition, and activity as their criteria. So let's run down the top of the list for the 2023 edition from number 10 all the way to number 1. In at number 10 then is WrestleMania main eventer Cody Rhodes, former Impact World Champion Josh Alexander, former AEW International Champion Orange Cassidy, former IWGP World Heavyweight Champion Kazuchika Okada, current AEW World Champion MJF, the current AAA Mega Champion El Hijo del Vikingo, the current WWE Intercontinental Champion Gunther, who is now the longest reigning champion in history, the current AEW International Champion Jon Moxley, the reigning undisputed WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns, and finally, in at number 1, the current WWE World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins. But what do you make of this year's top 10 of the PWI 500, and what would be your own top 2 on the list? Let me know in the comments down below. And next, more matches have been added to the card for the AEW WrestleDream pay-per-view. On October 1st, AEW will add yet another major event to their yearly pay-per-view calendar when they host WrestleDream live from Seattle, Washington. Heading into last night's episode of AEW Dynamite, just one match had been announced for the show, with current NJPW World Television Champion Zack Sabre Jr. in line to take on Bryan Danielson in the American Dragon's home state. On this week's edition of AEW Dynamite, Swerve Strickland would lay out a challenge to Hangman Page for WrestleDream, this after the Cowboys' win over Swerve's fellow Mogul Embassy teammate Brian Cage. Page would then go to accept the challenge before being taken out by Cage before the Young Bucks came to his aid. The singles bout would then be made official by the commentary team. Another match that appears to be set for the show will see Kota Ibushi and Konosuke Takeshita go one-on-one in Seattle, this after Don Callis and his client, now billed as the Alpha, would verbally run down the Golden Star and Kenny Omega. Whilst the match hasn't officially been announced for WrestleDream just yet, you can expect this to happen in the coming weeks, ready for what's being billed as an Antonio Inoki tribute show. And next, a former WWE World Champion is expected to sign for AEW. On August 18, Edge would wrestle what he claimed was his final match in his hometown of Toronto, with it being reported that this would be his final ever wrestling match. Since then, however, rumors have been rampant that the Rated R superstar could be AEW bound, with his WWE contract expected to expire at some point in late September. We now have more news on this situation thanks to PW Insider, as last night the outlet would reveal that Edge has been removed from WWE's internal active roster, a sign that he could be heading closer towards the exit, and they would write, WWE Hall of Famer Adam Edge Copeland has been removed from WWE's internal roster, PWInsider.com has learned. There is a belief in certain circles that he may be AEW bound. Edge is still listed on WWE.com's roster, but internally is no longer listed as an active performer for the company. PW Insider would then provide a follow-up report that revealed that after Edge's name was removed from the active list, he has been moved to the miscellaneous talent list, which includes names that do not actively appear on television for the company, and the report claims, "We are told he is now listed in what was described as a miscellaneous talent list for personalities signed but not working actively on either TV series. Others included on that list currently would be Steve Austin, Big E, Undertaker, Titus O'Neil, and Braun Strowman, among others, all talent who are connected to the company but not actively performing or are injured." Adding even more fuel to the speculation, former IWGP Women's Champion Mercedes Moné, somebody who is also expected to appear in AEW in the near future, would take to the X social media platform to post lyrics to Edge's entrance music, with the post happening just hours before the PW Insider report dropped, a sign that she may know something that we don't. And before you go, make sure you check out 10 facts that MJF doesn't want you to know.